podcast, episode number 79. You're joining me this week, Chris, one of your hosts for the day, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie, joining me for another podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm pretty good. You know what? I love QWERTY. We're not sponsored by them, by the way.
The keyboard?
The t-shirt manufacturers. And I got this cool t-shirt. I picked it up yesterday. And you know what I always love about them? It's a little thing, is that you always get a little bag of Haribo Star Mix in with your t-shirts.
Do you actually eat that, though?
Star Mix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something weird. I think I probably do eat them as well, but there's something weird about getting candy or sweets with a delivery that you didn't expect. Yeah. I'm always a bit suspicious.
I had to go to the post office yesterday to pick them up because I wasn't in when they got delivered. And I was feeling a bit worse for wear, you know, when you're just feeling a bit ropey and you're not having a great day. I opened the bag and it's like, a Star Mix is like, cheered me right up. So thank you, QWERTY.
Forget the tea. You just threw the t-shirt out at that point and just enjoyed the Haribo.
Yeah, well, I mean, I threw the t-shirt out. I'm literally wearing one of them, but...
Well, yeah, true. Well, at least you're not wearing the Haribo wrapper. That would be a bit weird if you just had that stuck.
Little thing as a hat.
Exactly. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sounds of Stadia podcast. You're joining us this week for episode 79. Tom can't be with us this week. He's currently spending some time with the Baker family, so he'll be back no doubt later on this week, so keep it locked to the channel to see where he's about. Because there's a lot of things going on, a lot of weird things, Richie. Like the clock's going forward, in fact.
Don't get me started.
So everyone who's there on the Monday morning starting your commute, we feel you, ladies and gentlemen. The clocks went forward, it confused everyone. But you know what? It's going to be a great show because, Richie, I've had 2 cookies for breakfast and I'm about to open a can of Monster. Like any genuine adult does.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's such an adult thing. What did you have for breakfast? Cookies. Nom.
Because we do have a great Stadia podcast lineup for you. Remember, this is the longest running Stadia podcast this side of Google Maps. And you're joining us for a great show this week. We're going to be talking about all of the Resident Evil reveals that happened. We knew they were coming. They teased us through leaks and such. They didn't tease us on purpose. But we've got that coming. That's who Tom's with. That's who we're referencing. The Baker family are the antagonists in the game. He's not just off on some... Yeah, he's not just off on... If anyone didn't know that, I've just thought in hindsight. Yeah. The Baker family, everyone's thinking, is Tom related to the Baker family? Is that his surname? Why is he gone on holiday? We're supposed to be in lockdown. No, he's been captured by a fictional family based on the Capcom title Resident Evil. But we'll be talking about all of that. A big JRPG blowout for Stadia, just in time for that cherry blossom bloom we see over in Japan. And all of our predictions for the April Pro Games. Because, Richie, it's the 28th of March at the time of recording. And we don't know what Pro Games we're getting, bar one. But we're going to be covering all that in the news. So do not forget, if you are new to the channel, give us a like down below, helps us with the algorithm. Click that bell, subscribe so you're kept in the loop with all things Sounds of Stadia. Like myself and Richie, playing with Earth's Mightiest Heroes this past Thursday, we jumped into Marvel's Avengers on Stadia to check out the Hawkeye Future Imperfect DLC, and we finished it. In one short sitting. I told you guys on last week's show...
About an hour and a half.
I told you guys on last week's show, it ain't that long. Yeah. But we jumped in and you played as Kate Bishop. I checked out Clint Barton himself. And again, with those streams, much better with friends. That game, more enjoyable. We smashed some AIM robots up and we saved the future. So you're welcome, everybody listening and watching out there. And you enjoyed playing as Kate Bishop, right?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I've complained about the Avengers series for quite a while. And my views aren't changed, but the problem is I think there is a fun game in there. It just needs that little bit more at the post game to give me the drive to get there, to keep me hooked. But when we play every couple of months on stream, because Hawkeye drops, I do have a good time playing. Exactly. But I just then don't have any motivation to ever pick it up again.
Would you be more inclined if they gave you free Haribo?
Probably, yeah. Who doesn't want free Haribo?
To be fair, I would as well, so we'll get into all that. And we've got some exciting news lined up for you this coming Thursday. It's not an April Fool's joke, don't worry. We do have some exciting news, but we'll keep it in line for our first story of the week. But like I said, thanks for stopping by. We do appreciate every single one of you who watches, subscribes, follows us, listens to us on podcast services, all those kind of magical things. Follows us on Twitter. But Richie, in Tom's absence, I don't know whether you've remembered or not, but I need to throw it over to you for our rundown of
the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the
news. And did you remember this time that it was going to be passed to you?
I did.
Because you had a little bit of a tongue twister.
I remember about 2 minutes before we hit record, so
right, that's good. So you stretched out that anticipation. And we have had a crazy busy week this past week in Stadia. I felt energized until the clocks went forward. I felt really energized this week about Stadia.
Yeah.
Because we just got peppered with games this week.
Yeah.
Absolutely showered with them. And not just little indie games at all. We got some big heavy hitters drop. Announcements and such. So the biggest story we want to start off with was the I'm sure you've all heard, no doubt. Well, we were unfortunate enough that they decided to drop the blog on the Monday when our podcast goes live. So anyone who listened last week, apologies we didn't have Resident Evil content for you then, but sod's law.
Basically at this point covering a news article that was literally a week old by the time you're listening to this.
True, but you know what? People want to hear about it, Richie, because not everybody reads the news. So first story of the week, Resident Evil 8, also known as Resident Evil Village, or the other way around, running on the Resident Evil engine, is coming to Stadia day and date with all the other big platforms out there. And I, for one, am thrilled to pieces, Richie. We had this leak a few months back now that Google had paid $10 million to Capcom to bring this game over. Obviously, no other titles previously on Stadia from Capcom that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So this is the first, or not the first, it's going to be one of the first. But at the time, we didn't know what that relationship was like, barring a leak of a money had exchanged hands.
Yeah.
But we are getting it. It's going to be coming, it's arriving in May. I can't wait. But there's a caveat to this exciting new AAA title coming to Stadia, Richie. And that is, they're launching it with a Premier Edition promo, again, akin to the Cyberpunk one. So my first question to you, Richie, is: are you hyped for Resident Evil 8? And secondly,
I'll let you ask the second question.
And secondly, what do you think about the Premier Edition?
I'm surprisingly hyped for it because I'm not usually a Resident Evil guy, but I think I got caught up in a bit of the announcements because my Twitter just exploded on the day. It's like, because it's a Monday, I'm not expecting anything on a Monday from Stadia, and suddenly it's like, what, Resident Evil? And I pre-ordered it, so...
Yeah. Now, did you pre-order it because of the hype train? Or...
I think I might have done a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to regret the pre-order, even though I'm not typically a horror guy, because I get scared and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I think I will have a good time with it.
Yeah, and it's weird because this is the second iteration of Resident Evil. For those who don't know, the previous iteration, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, it changed the perspective. They went from traditional Resident Evil third person, which is what the franchise was famed for, and made the switch over to first person. And it came to VR as well. It was that well designed in first person, and it was a big change, but it rejuvenated the franchise in such a big way. That Capcom essentially split their franchises now. They've got the remakes of the old 2 and 3, which have done wonders. And then now, because Village is coming out, this is the second one to be in first person. So they've got kind of such a peculiar business model. And I'm very interested to see where it goes long term as the old ones catch up with the new ones. But
I think it's quite interesting. I think for Resident Evil 4 onwards, the Resident Evil games start getting more and more actiony and less survival horror stuff. And I think third person lends itself a bit more to that. Mm-hmm. Where I think with 7, I think it's 5 and 6 were quite widely panned as games. So this isn't what we want, that sort of thing. Yeah. So when they came back with 7, they went the opposite way and went full on survival horror. And I think jump to first person, it does. I think first person is more immersive, especially in VR.
For horror,
so it puts you in the mind of that character rather than panned out, and then you can get things as you're walking around the corridor you can't see around the corner because you're not top down, you're not messing with the camera.
Yeah, you're completely right there. The change in perspective does add such an extra element, and between Resident Evil 7 coming out and 6, the scope for first-person horror games was huge. You've seen games like Outlast that have done wonders, Alien Isolation. These like smaller titles, arguably, in terms of not being like massive open-world games. But the way that immersion gets you for horror is crazy. I know you and one of our friends had a great time playing Alien Isolation. Even though you spend 90% of the time hidden in a vent.
Yeah, we did.
It adds a lot.
That Alien Isolation game, we were playing on the Xbox, but we had the Kinect on as well, so we sat there on the couch going, shh, shh, shh.
Yeah.
Because if anyone remembers the Kinect, it actually pick up your voice in game, and if you're too loud, the Xenomorph would find you.
Which adds another element of fear, doesn't it? It really does.
That, for me, is the best way to play that game.
Fear. Maybe Stadia will use it with the microphone, the built-in mic, potentially.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. But I think to bundle it all in with the Premier Edition, that's such an amazing promotion. I think that's why there was hype, because the financial backing to give away your hardware for free with a pre-order. We saw it with Cyberpunk. It got Stadia plenty of amazing plaudits, and they're clearly following this up by backing it with another big AAA title. And I think it's very, very clever marketing to make people, who are maybe on the fence or contemplating it, thinking, even if I just get a Chromecast Ultra out of this thing, it's a win.
Yeah. The thing is, for the price of the game, you get Chromecast Ultra and a game controller. Even if you don't end up sticking with Stadia, you basically cover the cost of the Chromecast Ultra. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very good proposition. And we've talked before on other podcasts, probably around about when Cyberpunk came out, around about Sabrina and the fact that that's meant to be coming the first half of this year. So we're about to enter April.
Yep.
So maybe only April, May, when we'll probably see Stadia on their Google Chromecast with Google TV. So I still think this is their way of getting rid of the back catalogue of the Chromecast Ultras.
Yeah, like their stock.
But they've probably got a couple of big titles where they think, if we can do a promotion around this, we can shift units and get people into the platform and also clear out our warehouse.
Yeah. I think it's a great deal, and whether this is just...
It's a win-win.
Yeah, like you said, short-term to get rid of the stock inventory they've got remaining. Interesting enough, there was a caveat that it's not available in Canada for some reason.
Yeah. It's
such an odd exclusion.
That actually almost backs up my claims. Maybe they've just run out of stocks for Canada.
Just everyone in Canada went crazy for the Cyberpunk promotion, so there's just not enough. Potentially. It's weird that they wouldn't shift stock around, but I guess pandemic and all these other supply constraints that are going on. But it's available in most countries that Stadia is available in, I believe. Let us know if it's not available in your country. But the biggest argument for me is, I'm going to get another Chromecast Ultra. I'm going to get another Premier controller, which, again, I'm really, really in love with the Stadia controller at the moment. As I jump between my PlayStation 4, the DualSense on the PS5, and the Stadia one, it is just a damn good controller.
Well, I've got a charger, like a third-party Aussie charging dock downstairs. I've got one for my PS5 as well, so I've got them paired up nicely. I think this is probably going to mean I'm going to leave one probably my Founders controller up here in my office, and the two Premier ones, the white ones downstairs.
Yeah.
So it looks a bit better, because it looks a bit weird when I've got the Founders one next to the clearly white one, because it's not colour matched.
Yeah, that you can have that not colour match.
Yeah.
But another point I'd probably bring up with this is that the selective over which obviously titles the bundle these Premier with, and Cyberpunk was a great one. Village is a great one, because the thing a lot of people, I think, go about what I've actively done is when these titles come out, if you have a friend or a colleague or someone who you know is a big fan of these tentpole franchises, if they're not invested in Stadia yet because of whatever reason, I think it makes a great point to go out and reach out to them. So this past week, I spoke to someone specific. I actually spoke to two people about FIFA, saying that, look, if you're looking to get into playing FIFA on your phone or your tablet or your laptop, wherever you go, it's currently 21 quid. So if you want to get in the door with it, it's great. Because I've been playing it all week and I think it runs super smooth. Resident Evil is a totally different kettle of fish compared to FIFA. It's a totally different game, franchise, genre. But bundling this in, again, how many people will now reach out to their friends and family and go, Jerry, you're a big horror fan. If you get in on this now, you'll get a free Chromecast and a Premiere Edition, so you can just play it anywhere. I think it comes from multiple different avenues from a promotional standpoint, and yeah, it's great. I can't wait. The hype around it on Monday was, like I said, it was palpable. Everyone was talking about it.
Yeah. There is one criticism I do have of it, and I think there's a lot of people I've seen on Facebook have the same criticism.
The colours.
You can't get the Stadia, not the colour. You can't get the Premier Edition until the game comes out. Because after the game comes out, then they'll send you the email for the code to then buy. It's basically a discount code that you'll get from the Google Store.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just down to financials of people cancelling and returning, and then they just getting away with a free bit of kit.
I get that, but then there's also the other hand of people going, well, if you don't have a laptop, or say if you're not a gamer, so you might not have a laptop, you might just have a tablet, but you don't have a game controller to connect to it. Mm-hmm. So you buy this game because you're excited to jump in, but then you haven't to wait. You can't get it on the day you come out. You have to wait for your code to come through. Then you go for the Google Store. Yeah. It might be a week before you get a chance to play, depending what you've got going on.
Yeah. It's. I suppose it's the detriment to all promotions. Like even then, it says while stocks last. So the reality is, you could pre-order this game, go and try and get your free discount order put in, and then you get an email saying, "Sorry, we're out of stock." That is the harsh reality of a promotion like this.
It's one of them where I don't actually have a solution for, because I think if I was in Google's situation, I probably would have made the same call. Mm-hmm. I just think it's a slight wrinkle that's worth mentioning. Oh yeah, it is. So it's same with the Canada wrinkle as well. That unfortunately it's not available, but that doesn't take the sheen off the fact that this is a stellar promotion. I hope it's sung from the rooftops come launch day, May 7th. It's coming. So again, day and date, and as all the hype's building up, if this game reviews well, PlayStation, Xbox, all talking about it, and here we are, available on Stadia. Play it right now. No downloads, no updates on any device you own. It's fantastic. Cannot wait. Another slight wrinkle I have is I think this news would have been better when the release date for Resident Evil Village was announced originally. So we knew that. So when you were getting the day and date, and if you get it on pre-order on Stadia, you get a Premier Edition when it comes out. Yeah. So then you're standing up there alongside Microsoft and Sony, rather than we'll shut out quietly later. When people, if you're really into Resident Evil, you may have already pre-ordered this on another platform. Yeah. So you run the risk of just giving up on them sales when you could have took a section of them. Yeah, you're completely right. It's that whole shadow drop mantra that Stadia seem to have, but I don't think they quite understand that actually being up there with the big boys on the first hype, because let's face it, this trailer dropping on Stadia's YouTube channel with 250,000 is nothing compared to dropping on the Capcom or PlayStation, all the IGN sites, because again, IGN has something like 18 million subscribers. It's the biggest gaming news outlet in the world, so having the promo drop on there without your logo and then dropping it on your own thing many weeks later, you're totally right, there is some clarity there that's going to be lost. But I know if you did it, I think if you did it at the same time, and say you're reading IGN's article on their initial release date, and it's got it's available on Xbox, it's available on PlayStation, it's also available on Stadia, then there might be a one sentence caveat goes, if you pre-order on Stadia, get a Premier Edition. Yeah. That if you're reading that, if you're interested in games and you're just saying, "Oh, Resident Evil looks really cool, I want to read a bit more about it," and you don't have a PlayStation, you don't have an Xbox, and you see that, I can get a Premier Edition, I can just play it. Yeah. So says a lot. Goes a long way. But there again, we've talked to death about Google's lack of marketing strategy, or it's just true. Yeah. So let's look a little bit at the game then a bit more. So the brief Village, and again, we know it's called Village purely because they can use the Roman numerals to their advantage when they spell Resident Evil 8 out with the VIII. So the blurb goes: experience survival horror like never before in Resident Evil Village, the 8th major installment in the genre-defying Resident Evil franchise. Set a few years after the horrifying events of the critically acclaimed Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, the all-new storyline brings Ethan Winters to a remote snow-capped village filled with a diverse cast of terrifying enemies. After a devastating encounter with Resident Evil series hero Chris Redfield, Ethan pursues him in search of answers, but finds himself in an entirely new nightmare. So, touching on the little nostalgic bone by bringing some past characters back,
It's a brand new chapter in the Biohazard storyline. So for those who don't know, Resident Evil 7 was called Biohazard as well, which was actually Resident Evil's original name in Japan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, not to be confused with how the franchise is titled in Japan. It's like...
So is it over there called Biohazard, or is it called Biohazard Resident Evil now?
I haven't got a clue.
Because in Japan, that could kind of just be like a mini reboot to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know for certain, but it's possible that maybe they rebranded in Japan as well to sync the two.
Maybe.
Well, actually, according to the wiki, it's just still known as Biohazard in Japan.
Yeah, so I wonder if a Japanese person would just presume it's just a reboot of the original game now.
Maybe it's just called Biohazard 7.
Yeah, I guess, probably just numbered. But we should point out Resident Evil Village is also called Village Biohazard as well on the promo art, so... It's not there in the title, but it is there on the promo art. So it looks like this first person could be like a little sequential story. 7, 8, and potentially 9. People love trilogies, don't they, Richie? So this could be the second entry in a little mini trilogy within the major installments. But Chris Redfield coming back, new chapters, new installment. Popular features are coming back from the other game and characters, and they've got evolved combat, and new hosts to face. Now, you and me, as you rightly said, are both cowards when it comes to scary games, and we like playing them collectively in a group, but not as individuals in our own homes sat at night with headphones on, kind of deal. That's just too scary, Richie. It's too scary to do.
See, it's when you're in a group and there's like a jump scare, and then you have that laugh, and it's like, okay, you kind of reset your mental state a bit. When you're on your own, you have a jump scare though. I'm still scared.
You're still scared. You're totally right. It's much better having fun. We've played in the past Until Dawn, and Resident Evil 2 is like a Halloween party scenario. And you have a couple of beers, you're having a laugh. The lights are on to an extent, and jump scares. You're totally right. You're all kind of sharing the fact that you all bricked it at the same time, and then you move on.
I wonder what the change in like the sales would be if Resident Evil came out at Halloween.
Yeah.
It feels like a natural fit. It's like, we'll bring out Halloween.
Yeah, maybe it's just a big enough franchise that it's surpassed.
Yeah,
it's like Halloween shackles.
How many people do you think buy it though, put it on the shelf, and then wait till Halloween to play it?
Probably a couple. Although the way they could be marketing this is they launch early in the year, get everything for full price, and then by the time Halloween hits, it's dropped down to a sale price, and then they get even more people in the door fresh because it's like half price or something.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
I'm sure Resident Evil 7 was £15 for like Black Friday for ages.
Get that second sales peak.
100%. So, seeing as though we have mentioned it, we should also point out then that Resident Evil 7 Biohazard was also announced as part of this big Capcom explosion that happened last Monday. And I think this drop just added more energy to the whole Stadia conversation. So you're getting Resident Evil Village with a free Premier Edition on pre-order, coming day and date, one of the biggest AAA titles of the year. And then guess what, Stadia people? You're going to get the original game, the origin of this story, to play beforehand. And not only that, it's coming free to Stadia Pro, Richie.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest get for Stadia Pro in a long time. Mm-hmm. I think this is generally a huge thing that I think a lot of people who are on the fence about Stadia Pro might look and go, oh, Resident Evil 7 as part of the proscription. Yeah, I'll resub for that.
Yeah, I saw so many people on Twitter go, just when I thought I was out, you pull me right back in with that. And that's the great thing with Pro, is you can just drop off and drop in. Like, you don't need to sing from the rooftops what your subscription status is, ladies and gentlemen. If you're keeping it, great. If you're not keeping it, great. Just like Netflix and Amazon and every other thing out there, just play how you want to play.
I've contemplated dropping Pro a couple of times when there's been a series of months where there's been nothing I'm that interested in. But then you occasionally get a party game and go, oh, well, that's going to be great for the Thursday night streams. And there's also a little bit of completionism because I've been a Pro member since it came out. I have every single Pro game. And if I drop 1 month, that's it. That's streak done.
You're totally right. I get that as well. I totally understand it. But the fact that we're getting it free for Pro is fantastic. Yeah. So 1st of April, it ain't no April Fool. We're getting Resident Evil 7. So to give you a brief breakdown of that one, we should point out as well, this is the Gold Edition. This isn't just the base game. This is the complete edition with all of the DLC. So it's Resident Evil 7 includes all the content from the critically acclaimed game, including the banned footage Volume 1, Banned Footage Volume 2, End of Zoe, and Not a Hero in one ultimate horror package. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard sets a new course for the Resident Evil series as it leverages its roots and opens the doors to a truly terrifying horror experience. Set within a sinister estate in Louisiana, the game takes place after the dramatic events of Resident Evil 6, which I have actually played co-op fully with one of our friends. And again, you were totally right, Richie. Very action-orientated, big scary monsters and such. Lots of purple. Main character Ethan Winters has been led to an abandoned location in search of his missing wife. And there he encounters the mysterious Baker family, who Tom currently is residing with, including Jack, Marguerite, who seemingly have been missing from the area with no recent contact to anyone. So, we knew this from the trailers. We've seen this from... I played the demo when it dropped on PlayStation 4 a couple of years back with the goddamn mannequins, Richie. Always mannequins in horror games and some horrible melted cooking on the table. But, yeah, this game is... It kind of like we've just said, it rejuvenated the franchise, it kickstarted it, and this creepy Baker family clearly seem to be the antagonists to get up in your face. And it's almost like
free. The God of War of the Resident Evil franchise, where it kind of took a lot of the elements of the franchise and repackaged it, reinvented it, and came up with this phenomenal game. Mm-hmm. Like, this is basically what Resident Evil 7 did. It's like it took a lot of the core concepts of what a Resident Evil game should be, and built a new game around them concepts rather than iterating on what they've previously done, which is what I think they've done from like 4, 5, 6, and I was going to say 4, 5, 6, and 7 there, but we are talking about 7.
We are talking about 7.
But yeah,
it's fantastic.
This is something I've brought up before. I think it was Doom, where I was sitting on the run up to Doom Eternal, having Doom 2016 drop like a month before as part of your Pro membership. Because this is when Doom was just we didn't know where Doom was. Mm-hmm. It just disappeared off the face of the earth for months.
Yeah.
Having that drop a month before the Pro membership and get people whet your appetite for the series before the full price, and that's what's happening with Resident Evil right now. Yeah. You're getting 7 as a Pro game in April. In May, you can buy Villages coming out.
Yeah, it's very clever, and it's kind of what I picture PlayStation doing right now.
Yeah.
They give Ratchet and Clank away for free as part of the PlayStation Home thing. Conveniently, the new title is coming out in June. So it's like, how much does that get in people's conversations in the public eye, thought process? And you're totally right. If you've pre-ordered 8, or you're thinking about pre-ordering 8, get your little taster sample, your little teaser.
Yeah,
a few days early.
If you're interested in it's one of them. If you're interested in the franchise, but you've never really jumped into it, it's a nice way of like, oh, I can just jump in for free. Mm-hmm. Oh wait, I really like this. I'll buy the new game.
Yeah, and get a free Premier Edition with it as well. So what's not to like? But Richard, we should probably point out then, if you are like us two and you're scared of horror games and you are not a big fan of Resident Evil, or you've maybe just got a morbid curiosity about the new first-person style, or Resident Evil Village, which comes out on the 7th of May, join myself and Richie, maybe Tom, depending if we can free him from the Baker family, because this Thursday, April 1st, we're going to bring you our first look at Resident Evil 7. And our intention, Richie, is to see across a couple of days if we can finish this game. We want, for our lovely audience out there, we're going to put all of our fear aside and we're going to try and complete this game, possibly across a few days. So we're thinking maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, depending on how good we are at the puzzles and not just hiding in a closet for the entirety of the stream. But we would absolutely love it if you would join us on April 1st, 8 p.m. GMT time, for some scares, basically. We're going to we're going to hunt the Baker family down, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Myself and Richie, I pointed at the wrong people when I did that. Richie and myself, and you out there. I'm looking forward to it. It's a shame we can't be in the same room. We'll admit that now. That was.
It's one I'd love to sit on the side of the couch alongside you and play, and would set up like a camera or something, but unfortunately, not quite yet. Maybe by the time Village comes out, we might be able to, though.
Oh, that is a good point, yeah. But we're going to do our absolute best to bring you in there. Even if you're not a fan of horror, just come along for the laughs. If you jump out of your chair, we won't know because you're just down the other end of this camera screen. Camera screen? That's not a thing. Either way, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, super exciting. And that's not all, Richie. That's not all.
The Resident Evil block isn't finished yet.
It's not finished. It just keeps coming because our friends over at Stadia Source, of course, your number one source for Stadia news, they uncovered a good point that Resident Evil Reverse is also coming to Stadia because it's part of the Village package. It's kind of similar when Resident Evil 3 got their reboot. They bundled in the multiplayer aspect for free because I don't think it would have done well as a standalone title. Just like this, there's a Resident Evil Reverse coming. It's essentially like a little multiplayer action. So the description of it says, in Resident Evil Reverse, you can test your skills against other players in a 4 to 6 person survival horror revenge match. Play as beloved characters from the Resident Evil series and turn the tides of battle with powerful bioweapons. Take part in 5-minute death matches where the player with the most points wins. Use the weapons and items you find to take down even more powerful enemies. And it looks like they've got a little bit of variety where one of you becomes Mr. X if you die first, almost like a past the virus kind of game mode, I guess, maybe.
Like
I'm thinking of time
asymmetric gaming, like something like a Dead by Daylight or something like that.
It's like playing tag. One of you is it, and you've got to hunt down the other people, kind of like Evolve and such. But it's online multiplayer created as a thank you to fans for the 25th anniversary of the series, and as we said, it's available for free to anyone who purchases Resident Evil Village. So that's a nice little.
The one thing I can guarantee is that we will be playing it one Thursday night.
Yeah, that is pretty much a guarantee. You are not wrong there, but
especially if both. I'm guessing you've pre-ordered it.
Evil
Village.
Yeah.
So there's at least 2 out of the 3 of us have pre-ordered. So there we go. It's happening.
I mean, Tom buys every game on Stadia, so the fact that there's the carrot dangled of another Premier Edition, I haven't run it by him yet, but my money is on Tom too, who's pre-ordered Resident Evil 8 Village. But yeah, it's a nice little multiplayer addition to that. I don't think it's getting a standalone release, but it is its own game within that world almost. So
yeah, I think it's based on the Resident Evil 2 and 3 engine rather than I think it's the same engine that they're using for Village, but it is third person rather than first person.
Yeah.
So
interesting stuff. Yeah, we'll get into it. It'll be the only Resident Evil third person game on Stadia at this moment.
Do we have a team? Actually, do we have a team deathmatch like multiplayer game on Stadia?
Outcasters?
I mean, technically, yeah. I'm thinking more like second or third person rather than isometric.
Division has the Dark Zone, which is P2P, I guess. Yeah. Not that I'd imagine many people play it by now, but interesting. The kind of to wrap all this Resident Evil news up with a little bow. I guess is, do you think this lays the groundwork for us seeing 2 and 3 reboots? Because they are the two. If I was to pick any from the franchise, they are the 2 I would love to see come over, because I don't want Stadia missing out on that revitalization, because 2 is fantastic.
Is it? Are they not PlayStation exclusives?
No.
Am I misremembering?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure you can get them. I have them on PlayStation, but I don't think they're exclusive. We'll find that out. But either way, if they're not,
yeah, all right, they're not exclusive.
Cool.
They are on Windows and Xbox One, so it's possible.
I just think now clearly the RE engine works because they're bringing these 2 games over. How much more money can Google splash out to get the 2 critically acclaimed remakes over? Because that would be 2 great third person additions to Stadia's library. I guess it might depend on how well these 2 land.
Yeah, I think it's likely. If like Village comes out, it's probably more Village they care about than 7. If Village comes out and does decent numbers on Stadia, it's probably worth Capcom going, well, let's pop these 2 over.
Mm-hmm. So put your money where your mouth is, Stadia people. Yeah. If you want the games, of course. If you don't give a damn,
I want them on the platform. I don't know if I'll play them, but I want them on the platform.
Oh yeah, you just be like Tom, buy everything.
Yeah, I wish I had the money.
Yeah, same. So moving away then from all the Resident Evil news, great to see, can't wait, hyped, looking forward to playing it Thursday, and being scared to death for your enjoyment out there.
I'm not looking forward to playing it, but we're going to play it anyway.
We're going to play it anyway. I mean, I'm looking forward to it and playing it because I enjoy exciting new AAA games, but I'm not looking forward to being scared. But then if our audience enjoy us being scared, I'll enjoy them enjoying us being scared, if that makes sense, in a roundabout way. But let's move over to something a little bit less death-orientated and talk about some fun excitement, because after Monday's blog post, we thought that was probably going to be it for the week, quite frankly. And then Stadia dropped some new games on us in the middle of the week. We knew one of them was coming, but then surprisingly, out of what's that in the distance, Richie? Is that smoke? Is that mist? Is that dirt being kicked up into the sky? We see. We got the announcement. That is a terrible thing. I know. I'll probably cut that out in post production. Actually, we got Dead 5 out of nowhere drop. We knew it was rated, I think, earlier last week.
Yeah.
And again, it's late to the party anyway. It came out on other platforms last year, but it's great to see that it's out now. Of course, from Codemasters, recently acquired by EA. Rally arcade style game was just live there and then. Off-road racing, build your career, be a tough driver. I did see it getting some criticism for its price across the Twitter world. Came out at pretty much full price.
When did it originally?
Oh, it's like October, I think. October, November time.
So, 6th of November. So it's not that old of a game. So I don't think you can criticise a game that's like 3 or 4 months old for coming out at full price.
Yeah, I think it is just the kind of delay. I think with FIFA and stuff launching, which was a much later delay. But either way, just hold off. Just don't buy it.
I think it's a different conversation with FIFA because FIFA is a seasonal game. So once the football season's over, the game is effectively redundant because the next one's coming out in a couple of months. So that's why I think FIFA needs a massive drop-off in price.
Mm-hmm.
Where something like Dirt, well, the game's going to be as good as it is now, as in it was 4 months ago, as it will be in a year's time. And it's only when Dirt 6 is on the horizon that it's effectively be getting replaced.
That's a fair point, yeah. I'm not going to look at a car in Dirt and be like, the roster's all wrong, the kit colour's wrong. It's just a car with some decals. Do you say decals or decals? Or stickers?
Decals. Stickers. We'll go with stickers.
We'll go with big stickers. Big car stickers. Yeah. Again, great game. I played the last... I had Dirt Rally, actually. I've got that on the PlayStation 4. And... Split screen, four player split screen antics and online as well. So I'm sure if the price drops, it's a game that I can see us all playing in the future, me, you, and Tom.
Yeah.
But again, $59.99 is a bit too steep for me at this moment in time. But guess what? I'm happy to wait, and I'm not that big of a driving enthusiast anyway. I know a lot of people out there. So
I'd be buying the game purely for content reasons, not because I'm into driving games. So wonderful. That's why the price is too steep for me personally.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's poorly priced.
Wonderful. And second up out of those games then, so not only did we get Dirt 5, we knew Kaze and the Wild Masks was going to drop for us. A few people out there have already jumped in this game. They're having a wonderful time with it. I've watched a couple of the streams and first looks going. I'm actually going to spend some time with Tom later on in the week and bag some first looks for us, because I know he's been probably the biggest advocate of this game amongst the three of us.
Yeah.
2D, amazing, colourful action, old school platforming, and it looks wonderful. Wonderful. But again, we're talking about price, but this one's £30, well, $29.99 UK. Personally, I think that would have been a sweet spot around the £20 mark, because it doesn't look like it's that long of a game either. But then again, how do you gauge length to value to fun to...
If you realistically wanted to value games based on the amount of work and development that goes into them, then with them massively underpriced. So sometimes I think if it's a game you're interested in, it's £30 and you think you're going to enjoy it, I think that's probably worth paying. I think it comes a problem when you're in the, like me, where it's like, I'm not sure if I will ever get round to playing this game. It looks cool, but I'm not huge on my 2D platformers. So then it's like, okay, £30, it is a bit of a deterrent for me, where if it's £20, I'll be more inclined.
Yeah.
But if you're anti 2D platformers, I think it's probably worth the money.
Yeah. I think the thing that gets me with this one is I'm super excited for it. It's £5 cheaper on PlayStation. And it launched the same day.
Yeah, see.
So why, when I've got a PlayStation, literally, I'm tapping it right now, why would I not just save myself £5 and play it there? Seems that's kind of the opposite argument to the Dirt 5 argument. Whereas, $24.99 on PlayStation right now, and it's $29.99, and I think this just comes down to the Stadia's conversion that they do for the rates. But
because they don't seem to do a 1-to-1 from US to UK in terms of pricey.
I mean, how much was FIFA? Was that £21.19 or something so random?
Something weird, yeah.
It's something that needs probably a little bit of looking at, but it's a game I'm excited for. I'm going to play it with Tom later this week, but there is something in there where it's cheaper elsewhere.
You'd think that you'd look at what prices come out on other platforms, and you need to kind of match that. When you're the platform that's by far got the smallest user base, you can't be having your games more expensive when they come out the same day. Because then it's another reason why games are more expensive on Stadia, so I'm going to keep it on PlayStation. I already have a PlayStation.
Yeah, you're totally
So you're
right.
not winning people over with stuff like that, unfortunately.
But we do also know it's not Stadia that sets the price, it's the developer.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be giving Google any more shit than they deserve, because this is down to the developer clearly trying to maybe make a bit of a profit on this platform as opposed to others. I don't know, maybe they're taking the losses because there's millions more on PlayStation, so they can afford it.
It's possible that they think that on Stadia the game's going to have a bit more of an audience in terms of the market share for that platform because of the less titles on the platform. But Stadia doesn't have the same level of back catalogue as a PlayStation or an Xbox.
Yeah.
So they can actually maybe get a little bit more out of it.
Yeah.
And also it mitigates the fact that there's a smaller player base. So I wonder if that's what the developers are thinking. It's like, if we put a bit more, and it's gone, because we're not expecting to sell as much, but we do expect to sell more relative to how many people we could sell it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting stuff to think about. Let us know in the comments below if you'll be buying either Dirt 5 or Kaze in the Wild Masks, and if you feel like the price is appropriate. We'd love to hear from you. Third game, Richie, that dropped on Tuesday was a little indie title called Murder by Numbers. This is a detective classic puzzle game with mechanics and visual antics of a more anime cartoon style. It's got a nice little story running throughout it. Solve puzzles, solve the crime, and a flavourful and unique take on sleuthing. Purchased today for a discounted price as well for a limited time. Now, this game doesn't appeal to me personally. However, we spoke off camera about the behind the scenes things about this game, and I'd like to explore that a little bit more with you while I've got you here for this podcast show, Richie. And so, Murder by Numbers may not seem like much on the front of it. However, if we drill a little bit deeper into who makes this game, the developer is Mediatonic. And for those of you out there who think I'm sure I've heard of Mediatonic somewhere in the last 12 months, that's because those are the guys who make Fall Guys, the little indie smash hit that took the actual world by storm last summer when it dropped on PlayStation Plus. And it's published by Devolver Digital, which have got some games on Stadia. So this is where I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on, Richard. We've not done this for a while. And I don't want to go down conspiracy, but I've got kind of like a semi-predict. I can feel it in my bones.
You can see how the stars could align.
Yeah, my sugar-infused bones are making me think that, hang on a minute, so Murder by Numbers, not a big title. No disrespect, but it's not. It's not Resident Evil Village by any stretch of the imagination. Why this
one?
Like, yeah.
On the scale of games, it's like Resident Evil over here and there's Murder by Numbers over here.
Exactly. So for Mediatonic to bear in mind, Mediatonic have been around for years. They made loads of games. However, only 2 games they've made for consoles. Murder by Numbers, Fall Guys. Everything prior to that was PC, mobile, ports and stuff for just other companies as like smaller jobs basically. These are the first 2 quote unquote proper games. And they randomly port this one to Stadia. I don't think that's just a random choice. I think that Mediatonic, after the explosion that they had last year with Fall Guys, I think if Google are in their right mind, looked at the roadmap of their future of the platform and said, right, what games is everybody talking about? Call of Duty Warzone. Are we going to get Activision to pull their finger out and port that across? Probably not. Not without giving them a shed ton of money. Eventually, fingers crossed, hopefully. What about FIFA? Well, actually, we've already got to deal with it here. That's on its way. PUBG, we've got that. That's our Battle Royale we can drop, which they dropped last summer. So we've got a Battle Royale game. Fortnite, again, hopefully one day, but at the moment, not so much.
There was rumours last summer where there was like falling out between Google and Epic and stuff. And
yeah. We obviously got that tease last summer of Apex Legends, which turned out to be nothing, apparently. So, again, Stadia have to be having these business conversations with developers. And I can picture a conversation happening last year when Fall Guys exploded, and then Mediatonic were approached by Xbox, Nintendo, Google, probably Amazon as well, to say, like, what is your availability once this exclusivity ends? Now, the other little breadcrumbs, Richie, that I'm going to lay down for you to follow and nom up like Haribo on the floor, is it's coming to Xbox and Switch this summer. So that means PlayStation's exclusivity is ending, and this game is going to other platforms. And what's even better to all that is Mediatonic have spoke about it in blog posts and news, and they've tweeted about it before, that their intention is to have crossplay. You just do a quick search for Fall Guys crossplay. The developers have said they want it to come in the near future. Sooner the better. So
they've also said they want to bring it to more platforms.
And to more platforms. Yeah, I think early doors, I think a couple of people tweeted at them saying bring it to Stadia, and they said, well, we're open to discussion. Now, the caveat to all this, because I know people are watching and thinking about it, is that they've just been acquired by Epic. So they're now owned by Epic, who own Fortnite and the Epic Game Store and other such things, which I would think would be a problem. However, this deal should have been sealed last summer. So regardless of them being acquired by Epic last month, I don't think any prior contracts will be disrupted. So it coming to Xbox, it's coming to Switch, they're going ahead. I can see, Richie, you're going to hear it from me right now, Fall Guys will be announced as a shadow drop, no doubt this summer, because that's how they like to do things, for Stadia, and it will have crossplay. So Xbox, Switch, PlayStation, PC, we're all going to be playing together in the cloud, all of the lovely gaming community out there, from Mediatonic. And I'm going on all of that purely because Murder by Numbers is Mediatonic's only other game, and it just came to Stadia this week out of the blue for no reason. What do you think? Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy. I think it's definitely in the realms of possibility. But can I go one step further and make it even more crazy?
Go on then.
We only know one title for April's Pro games.
Okay. So okay. Then.
What if Fall Guys is announced on Tuesday as a Pro game for April?
You're crazy.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. We'll take it even further crazy. But I actually think it's possible. If Fall Guys is coming to Stadia, I can see it being a Pro game easily.
I mean, actually, I wouldn't be surprised. It was free on PlayStation Plus. I can see it just being a Game Pass game, and I can see it. In fact, I could see the whole game just being free. Like, let's face it, it worked with Fortnite and Epic for that particular franchise. Fall Guys in a similar vein. They're doing seasons. It's all about community. And if this game wasn't free on PlayStation Plus, I don't think it would have the influx of players and the energy swell it had. So again, bring it to Stadia. We all know the problem is the player base. This is why crossplay is going to be superb for this platform. You're always going to get into a game, and the more players Fall Guys has, the more it's going to perpetuate that game to continued success. Because I played it, I loved it, but I did fall off because that's what I did. Literally, that's what I do. But we won't spend any too much time on that. I just wanted it to be known. I wanted it to be heard out there, because then we can all say Chris was right and I'm not crazy.
You are crazy.
I can feel it. There's just the planets, like I said, Richie, they've all aligned. Murder by Numbers, Mediatonic, Devolver Digital, the publisher, coming out on other platforms this summer. Crossplay. I need to get further back before my earphones pull out. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments below. If I'm wrong, don't tweet at me.
That's it.
Don't tweet at me. Right, Richie, let's move on swiftly because there are more games coming. So this wasn't the end of the crazy week of Stadia news.
No, it wasn't.
We got an absolute bucket ton of JRPGs drop on the Thursday post. Now, I'm going to hold my hand up and say that I've not heard of some of these titles. We probably should put this on Tom because he's the guy I think has played one or two of these. So we'll get his impressions on next week's show. But 4 RPG titles coming. Now, we did do some research on the pronunciation of these game titles because anyone out there who's a fan of these JRPGs, we didn't want to butcher them. So, according to Reddit, where you get all the hardened facts, it's pronounced Ease, long E sound, hard S. The best description ever. Like the word geese without the G.
Yeah.
Ease.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're wondering how that's spelled, it's YS.
Yes. So,
Yes.
So Ease
Yeah.
is getting a couple of titles. There's also some titles from the Legend of Heroes, Trials of Cold Steel franchise as well, and we'll just give a rundown of them all four. So we got Ease 8, Lacrimosa of Dana, which is either a name or it's an abbreviation of some sort. Is coming April the 1st. Right? That's the first one. Then we're getting Ease 9, Monstrum Nox. These are not easy names. And the Roman numerals. I know my Roman numerals, but you know when you read it and you still have to take that extra fraction of a second to process what number it actually is in your mind. So Monstrous Nox is coming Summer 21, which is the newer entry in the series. So it's the follow-up and it's the newer one.
It's the newest entry in this series. It was initially launched in Japan on September 26, 2019.
Right, so it hasn't had a Western release yet. So
it has. The Western release started in February 2021 on PlayStation 4.
Which makes sense with Sony being
so
Japanese.
It's one of them. It's one the East franchise. It's one of them. It started off in the late 80s, but it's much bigger in Japan than it is in the West. Mm-hmm. So there's a bit of a lag between when the game comes out in Japan and in the West.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. I've always said before, I'm not the biggest you and Tom are way more inclined to JRPGs than I am. And you'd not really heard of these before,
I've heard of them, but as I said, it's one of them where it's seemingly much bigger in Japan than in the West. So my experience with JRPGs are the ones that are biggest in Europe and in the States, your Final Fantasies and that sort of thing. So this is a bit more of an obscure title from my perspective, but it's a welcome addition.
Yeah, all titles are a welcome addition. Just flesh out that library and bring over a little bit of variety. So the second one, Monstrum Nox. You've had a look at their information page just to see if we can get a bit of detail about what the games are. I'll give you guys a rundown of the two titles. So the first one, Lacrimosa of Dana, is embark on a classic Ys adventure with the 8th installment in the epic series. When Adol awakes, shipwrecked and stranded on a cursed island, he and all the other shipwrecked passengers form a village and explore the isle. Amidst this, Adol begins to dream a mysterious blue-haired maiden. An epic tale. Follow him on his latest adventure. Party on. Change your playable character on the fly as you battle ferocious foes in lightning-fast combat. Another side. Unravel the mystery of the blue-haired maiden through our unique gameplay sections. And it takes a village. Rescue your fellow shipwrecked passengers and bring them to your village where you provide valuable services. So it sounds like Lost, the JRPG, with a blue-haired woman involved instead of magic numbers in a vault. On the second game, that's a total lie, by the way. Monstrous Nox is same character, is cursed by a mysterious woman and becomes a monstrum, a powerful being who can exorcise monsters. To escape from the prison city of Balduk, he must ally with 5 other monstrums, each with their own unique gifts, and stop the Grimwald Nox, a shadowy dimension on the verge of overflowing into the real world. So these two games, by description, sound very, very different. It sounds like they're their own contained stories, similar to Final Fantasy in a way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was doing a bit of research before the show, trying to figure out, are these just a continuation of the same story, or is it just a case of similar to Final Fantasy, where every new game is completely in a new world, or basically in a new world, completely new setting, completely new stories. But it appears like they have almost like Zelda in some ways, where you have characters that pop up from game to game, even if it's a completely different iteration of the character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just like an anime series where it just goes from episode to episode and something different happens.
Yeah.
So those were two of the titles from the E series, from the developer Nihon Falcom Corporation. Again, never heard of them prior to this. No disrespect, but again, not my wheelhouse of games. But yeah, massive player base. We said pre-show, Richie, that for it to go this many entries in a series, it has to be doing something right.
Yeah, it's one of them. If for a franchise, I think to survive from 87 was the first release in Japan. and the most recent release was 2019 in Japan. For a franchise to last that long and it doesn't seem, looking at the timeline, it doesn't seem like there's huge gaps where it stopped and then it was reinvented or anything. It seems like every 3 or 4 years there's been a new title.
Yeah, you get a new entry.
That makes me think that there's something about this that has longevity, that has people coming back every single time.
Yeah.
And actually looking at the Metacritic scores, it's for Ys 8, it's like it got a Metacritic of 85, and for Ys 9 it got a Metacritic of 80, and both of them are the PS4 versions.
Interesting.
So that suggests to me that, although I don't know much about the games, these are very solid JRPGs that are probably worth looking at if you're into your JRPGs.
Yeah. As a sidebar from that, how far through Bravely Default are you now? 2.
I was trying to push through to the end last night, but then it was 3 o'clock in the morning and I had to go to sleep.
Was it 3 o'clock or was it 2 o'clock and the clocks went forward?
It was when I looked at the time, it was 3 o'clock. Right. I think I may have lost an hour in there, but I was getting sleepy. It's like, I need to go to bed. But I'm agonizingly close. I'm pretty convinced I'm in the last dungeon now.
Right.
However, I do know after you beat the boss in this dungeon that there is another secret chapter.
Right. Dare I ask how many hours?
65.
Right. That classic JRPG.
And if anyone's curious, I have been doing pretty much every single side quest. There's only one side quest that I've currently got in my log, and that's because I'm woefully under-leveled for it.
Right.
Like I tried it last night and just got one shot.
One shot, wow.
Yeah, so there's like, it's one of them fights where there's no amount of strategy I can win this fight.
So, in the vein of all these JRPGs then, all of these titles coming to Stadia, there's going to be hundreds upon hundreds of hours of gaming to have fun. When we talk about value for money, JRPGs, like if we're going to put value as like hours time played, you can't look past it. A good RPG for sinking half of your life into it.
Well, that's it. With Bravely Default, I can't remember how much I paid, but I think it's a full price game. But I'm 65 hours in, it's probably going to clock over 70 easily by the time I've wrapped up. Depending if I could do into like the post-game content, then there's probably another 15, 20 hours easy. So I reckon if I wanted to, I could break 100 hours in Bravely Default 2.
Damn. So
I'm probably not going to because I want to move on to other games.
There's more JRPGs out there, clearly. The other two that were announced, I was going to say Trials of Cold Steel. So from the Legend of Heroes series, the same Nihon Falcom kind of quartet that got dropped this week is Trials of Cold Steel 3. So this is a different character. Reen Schwartz, a military student turned war hero, finds himself at the centre of a dark plot that threatens to upheave the foundations of his homeland. To face the oncoming storm, he must prepare a new generation of heroes as an instructor at the newly formed branch campus and guide them towards an unknown future. Welcome to the new class. Explore the new lands of the Empire with a brand new squad and catch up with familiar faces from the past. An immersive story, experience an epic story developed across 3 titles and crafted for new and old fans alike. Also includes an interactive introduction and catch up for players to the ongoing story, so you can dive right into the world of Trials of Cold Steel. Yeah. Now this is in a different vein that everyone has like actual weapons and guns. In this one, it seems to be a bit of a more war-torn environment rather than fantasy adventure necessarily. They've got kind of giant, crazy Gundam mech suits fighting as well. Trials of Cold Steel, again, a series I feel like I've heard of as opposed to the E series. Again,
it's another one where there is a bit of a lag. So, Legend of Heroes: Trials of Cold Steel 4 came out in 2018 in Japan and 2020 in the English release, the English part of the game.
Yeah.
So there's a 2-year lag between the initial release and the English release. But again, this is another franchise. The Legend of Heroes franchise started in 1989.
Damn. These things have some legs.
But the Trials seems to be a sub-series within the series, but also part of the main...
Classic Japan.
Yeah. It's like... It seems to be like... The first one was like... Dragon Slayer was like the first part of the series, and it's Gaghav? I don't know how to pronounce that. It's like the second... So that... Which encompasses like games like 3 to 5, and then the Trial starts off in like really kicked off in like 2004 in Japan or 2011 in the West.
This isn't related to...
Trials of Cold Steel started. The first entry of the Trials of Cold Steel arc, as it's being referred to, it was in 2013 or 2015.
Right.
But the first two games, these games, unlike East, seem to be a continuation of the previous ones, which is why I think that recap of the first two games is important.
Very much so. So, is Trials of Mana's not involved in this at all, is it?
No.
Right.
Different franchise.
Just similar naming convention, so I thought this is some multiverse shit going on right now.
Another game I'd love to see come over Stadia, because it's something I have never played, the Trials of Mana games, but they have been on my radar.
Very well reviewed as well.
Bring across Chrono Trigger.
And Fall Guys.
Yeah.
But the fourth entry in this week's, the final entry, I guess, in this week's drop was The Legend of Heroes Trials of Cold Steel 4, which is the newest edition. It's war. The continent of Zemuria is dragged into conflict as their... damn these words, man. Erebonian Empire mobilizes the full force of its military. The heroes and the class of 7, damn Roman numerals as well. They love throwing us off with these descriptions. Old and new must unite to end the conflict before it consumes the continent. Boasting the roster in series heroes from all over seek to join the cause. They unite to battle and polish combat from the Legend of Heroes series, including the ability to summon giant mechs to the battlefield, Digimon style, and devastating attacks. Engage in auto battle for more combat, utilize lost arts, etc., etc. This one seems like a solid continuation of the last game. This one, again, more recent release. I think this is the latest entry in the series.
Yes, the latest two entries that we're getting.
Wonderful.
3 and 4 are by the most recent ones.
Wonderful. So, as someone who had no context for this, again, ahead of time, I reached out to Kirk Lakes on Twitter, who's one of the business developers over at Stadia, and he recommended, so with some expert advice, ladies and gentlemen, if you're thinking, where the hell do I start with all of these JRPGs, like I am, he suggested that if you like action combat with precise dodge counter attack mechanics, similar to Devil May Cry, or action-adventure games like Zelda, Richie, that one's for you, start with Ys 8.
Yeah.
So if you like traditional JRPGs with more of a turn-based and fantastically written characters / story, start with Trials of Cold Steel 3. It recaps 1 and 2 in the game. So
it's actually... My love of JRPGs comes actually more from the turn-based stuff rather than the more actiony stuff.
Right, so I would recommend, based on Kirk's advice, Trials of Cold Steel 3 for yourself.
I'm not against the actiony stuff, but I think I first fell in love with JRPGs because of the turn-based mechanics. We're different to like a lot of Western RPGs, so like, and as someone who does like the genre hop a lot, it's like, oh, this is something different.
Yeah, it just
also Pokemon. Like,
Pokemon for me. That's probably the only JRPG I can truly say that I've played. Although the new Final Fantasy does have me intrigued because it's more fantasy, very Game of Thrones style, but that's a whole other conversation. So thank you, Kirk, for getting back to me on that one. Go follow Kirk over on Twitter if you want some little Stadia insights too. And if you want to check out some exciting JRPGs on Stadia, look no further than April, because April is going to be a chocker full month. JRPGs, horror franchises, new pro games, maybe Fall Guys, Richie. Who knows it? Keep your eyes peeled. Moving away from the games then, that's not all we've got for the news this week. We're also going to break down a little bit of the latest Stadia APK file over on the Android Play Store. Our good friends over at 9 to 5 Google, Carl Bradshaw, breaking down the techie details of what's inside these tech files, and some interesting stuff coming out of this month's breakdown. For you and me, Richie, the biggest news I found is that touchscreen gameplay seems to be en route to the app. This is
direct touch gameplay. It's not controller emulation, which we already have.
Exactly. So that is like any classical mobile game. If there's an option on screen to tap a menu, just tap like you would do a mobile game. No up, down, left, right, and select with the virtual sticks. So there's some tech in there that says direct touch. The game supports direct touch. Play this game without a controller by tapping, swiping, and or pinching the elements on the screen to play. You can still connect the controller, obviously, if you want to. And there's a little graphic image that comes and loaded with it. And I guess for you and me, Richie, this is the stuff we've theorised in months gone by for games like Football Manager.
FIFA. Managing your transfers on your lunch break so you don't have to lug a controller around with you or use very poorly emulated touch controllers are just not good.
No.
They don't work. It's not a Stadia thing. Any mobile game where it's emulated a gamepad, I thought always feels horrible.
Yeah. Even going back to trying to play like Sonic 2.
Yeah.
Which is just, all you need is jumping left and right, and yet that game doesn't run better. It's better on the Mega Drive.
Doesn't feel right. Yeah. The game runs fine, it just doesn't feel good to play.
Exactly.
Direct touch can be fantastic for a lot of games. Well, actually, since we're talking about a lot of JRPGs, turn-based JRPGs would work quite well with touch. Like your Octopath Travelers, for example.
Cthulhu Saves Christmas. Christmas with a lisp. But yeah, any slower paced game or menu navigating heavy game, it's going to be great. And we've rightly said before, for games like FIFA, Humankind, where it's just about the tap and the pinch and such.
If you think of direct touch as almost mouse emulation, that's one way to see where it can work. If it's a game that works well with just a mouse, it probably works well with direct touch.
Interesting. So that's one point that was picked out. They've also noted play notes. So play note, add note, write a short note to remind yourself of how you know this person. Note was not saved, try again. Were a couple of the bits of script that were pulled out. Yeah. So I guess it looks like we can make little memos.
Yeah, against your Stadia friends list, which as content creators, that could be useful for us.
Block this asshole.
Because no, it's not. As we know, a lot of people jump in our Thursday streams. We know that they're by name now, but when they've got they Google the gamer tag. Sometimes if someone having all the names next to the gamer tag means we could look it up, especially if someone hasn't been around for a while.
You talking about not been around for a while? You talking our good friend Dave, who goes by Peter Parker on Stadia.
Yeah.
So when you see that, you want to say Peter, but then you realise he's called Dave, but then he goes by Peter. So how do you refer?
Yeah, he's a perfect example of where it's Dave.
It's Dave. Thirdly up then, we've got the capture play upgrade. It looks like they're going to tweak the screen capture details a little bit, enable video capture, rewind 5 seconds, skip forward 5 seconds. So it looks like we're maybe going to be able to trim our captures a little bit more within the app, which is great because we all know you hit that record button, it captures 30 seconds, but you may have only wanted the last 10 seconds of that clip. Especially playing FIFA recently, Richie. You get your goal, but you also get the awkward 15 seconds build up towards the goal, which is boring.
Yeah, chances are you're hitting capture as soon as you see the awesome moment that you want to save, but there might be 20 seconds before that where it's just kind of dull.
Exactly. So that'll be an interesting feature added on. So again, just kind of little quality of life tweaks.
It's nice to see them coming.
But it's good to see them coming, definitely. Working towards party chat, there's a little bit more script in there regarding the party button, party leader, invite messages and such. So it looks like that could be on the horizon. The need to do some substantial work on the voice chat. We know that. And unlike Microsoft, who are rumoured to be going out and acquiring Discord for 10 billion or million or whatever it is.
That's the move Stadia should have done. They should be getting Discord.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Because that solves their problems. You got party chat and you've got everything you could want really for a chat system for gaming is in Discord already.
Mm-hmm. And the final point of this breakdown is it looks like, we've theorised it already this episode, in fact, Richie, but it looks like the Android TV app for Google, Chromecast with Google TV is the new amazingly shit name convention. It looks like it could be coming. The new bit of script says, install Android TV app. Please install the Stadia for Android TV application. Add a new account. Stadia payments aren't working on this TV right now. Open up the app for support. So a couple of little bits of scripture that
this could be the LG partnership.
It could be,
as well.
It could be one
Probably
of many
more likely
things.
the LG partnership actually, because that's actual.
I wouldn't be surprised if they all just go live at once, across the board.
Yeah.
This is the day we launch Stadia to the masses of Android.
The tinfoil hat part of my brain thinks it's ready to go. They're holding off because they want to shift Chromecast Ultras.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah, otherwise then they'll just have all the stock and then it just won't go anywhere. So I wonder if that's why it's held off, because we know loads of people sideloaded it without any issue. So it works.
Yeah. So that's the breakdown from the APK file. A couple of interesting tidbits of information in there, and hopefully we'll see them come to light probably within the next couple of weeks, to be honest. Usually these are a good indication of that's what's on the horizon imminently. So some things, however, are not on the horizon imminently, Richie. We got another game delay news drop this week from Humankind developers. Amplitude. We knew Humankind was on the cusp. It was actually due out next month, so mere weeks away. And they posted on Twitter saying the Humankind game we've dreamed of creating means a lot to us, and more than anything, we want to honour the community's expectations for it. Players have always been at the heart of Amplitude's philosophy, and releasing the game on August the 17th will allow us that extra time to keep working with the community and polishing the game for an amazing day one experience. And that was from their chief creative officer at Humankind. You and me both tweeted at them and basically said, take all the time you need, no rush. I'm happy to wait. You use the Shigeru Miyamoto quote, of course. Delay game.
Why say it myself when there's actually basically the guy who saved the entire gaming industry says it.
Well. He's there as well. So again, a game delay, but again, we're not the type of people who flip out over delays like that. It's we still need to acknowledge that we're in the middle of a pandemic, or at the end of a pandemic, hopefully.
Gives me more time to get through my JRPG backlog.
Yeah, all those hundreds of hours playing that game. So that was one story that dropped. And let's wrap up this week's episode, Richie, with a breakdown of a couple of pieces of DLC that we do have coming out. Very exciting stuff. First up on the dock, we've got Hitman 3 is getting some DLC. For it's called Hitman 3 7 Deadly Sins. It looks like it's going to be a small breakdown of all of the 7 Deadly Sins. And Richie, I challenge you right now, how many of the 7 Deadly Sins can you name?
All right, here we go. Lust, greed, envy, sloth, pride, gluttony.
Oh, he's one short.
I'm one short. For anyone listening, I'm thinking about Full Metal Alchemist right now.
Oh, okay.
And that is going to be completely lost in Chris, but I'm sure there's some people in the audience who will get that reference.
I've actually forgot which ones you already said now. So
lust, envy, greed, pride, gluttony, sloth.
I'm only going to note.
Oh my god! This is going.
Don't
for the sake of time. Can I Google it?
Greed, pride, sloth, lust, gluttony, wrath, and envy.
Oh, it's wrath.
And I only know that because it's on screen in front of me at the end of the trailer.
I'm now full of wrath.
Now full of wrath for not knowing about wrath. The irony should be one of those.
Yeah.
As part of the DLC, they're dropping sequential content. It's coming to Hitman 30th of March. 7 Deadly Sins is essentially a 7-part expansion for Hitman 3. It takes place in the deep mind of Agent 47. So it's a psychological trippy one here. It's going to be released over time through 7 unique content packs, each focusing on a different sin, and include a bunch of visually distinct content, sin-themed, based on the topic of the day. So essentially, between all those 7 deadly sins, it looks like he's just going to be rocking a different suit to represent each one. Jealousy might just be in like a bright green suit.
I'm guessing it's going to be like a new location, new targets for each of them, and based on the theme of each of the different sins.
Yep. So more content for Hitman. I'm excited to see it. Again, I think
don't let your kids play the Lust one.
No, probably not. And do think it's quite a good sandbox game for DLC. It's something that they could just perpetuate with seasons. It lends itself very, very well to that. So anyone out there enjoying Hitman 3, jump in, get greedy with it. And
we have prices for them as well.
Do we?
£5 each or 30 quid for the lot.
Cool. So you got like a value pack, and you've got a one standalone pack. So if you're not into certain ones of the deadly sins, you can just pick and choose your favourites. What's your favourite deadly sin, Richie?
I'm going to go with sloth because I love just lying around doing nothing.
Sloth, love it.
Yeah.
Next up, then we've got we mentioned it last week, but I thought I'd touch on it a little bit because I've played some of it. And that is the Immortals Phoenix Rising Myths of the Eastern Realm. The second DLC for this game dropped last week on all platforms. And I mentioned it last week that it's got nothing to do with the original game, which is such an odd choice for a second DLC of 3.
Yeah.
I've played about an hour and a half of the DLC so far. It really does not even mention the original base game. It starts off with a brand new protagonist, a brand new location, a brand new list of kind of gods, similar weapon traits and puzzle mechanics as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, you essentially start a new tale inspired by Chinese mythology. Your character's called Ku, and you meet the goddess Nua from Chinese mythology, sorry. And you just fight clearly a bunch of villains from the original games that have been tweaked ever so slightly to look more oriental. And that's it. Just kind of more of this. Essentially, seems like it could have been the sequel.
Yeah,
but they've made it into a small DLC content. It's a very odd choice.
I wonder if maybe it was planned to be a sequel, but then maybe they decided the sequel's going to go a different way. So they thought, well, we can just take what we've got, tidy up, and repackage it as a DLC.
Yeah,
and maybe to gauge interest as well.
Maybe
Would you be interested in playing this character?
Yeah, I've had a look on naturally a couple of forums and on social media, and everyone is saying the same thing about like, why isn't this just a second game? But it's weird that they didn't even attempt to tie it in with the original game. Like even in just like a passing comment, it's just straight up. You start with an introduction of your character and a little cutscene, and then it's there. So
this is why I'm now thinking, like, do you think they plan to do almost like Assassin's Creed with the franchise, where every game or sequel series of games in terms of like Ezio is based around a character, and they move locations and introduce new characters. So this may have been a plan for a second character, like the second game, but then they've decided, no, maybe we're going to stick with Phoenix.
Yeah, I think
as the mascot for the series, and just have it build on her story. So they've got these ideas that are just probably maybe not going to get used. So let's use them.
Yeah, there's definitely some discussion that's happened within the development team where this could even go back to the name change, because Gods and Monsters is so ambiguous that could be applied to every mythology. Gods and Monsters, Greek mythology. Gods and Monsters, an Eastern realm. And then just jump around, go to Norse, go to whoever.
But there again, the second one could have been Immortals, Kaze Rising.
True. That is true. But
it still works.
It's very weird because I'm enjoying the DLC, but the fact that it's got no link to the game, I'm kind of, when sometimes you play a game, Richie, and it's missing that connection. I've just spent 40 plus hours with Phoenix and her character and a story, and then I did the first DLC, which was more puzzles with Phoenix and her story, fleshed out a little bit more, and then now I'm starting with a brand new person in a brand new area with the same mechanics, but not the characters that I've grown to love, and it's a bit jarring in a way.
There's no different, like, in terms of abilities or anything like that.
There is the same abilities, but they're masked with a different reasoning behind them. So instead of having Phoenix wings, he has Da Vinci's wooden glidey things instead, and he still has the jump up punch and the giant hammer, but instead of it being the hammer of Hephaestus, it's the hammer of insert Chinese mythology god instead, and it's. Yeah, it just feels like if someone was to take the original game and just do their best to interpret and clone it, this is what the second DLC is. Very odd, but
we'll probably never know the reasons why. But
no, but I would have just liked to see it as a whole new game, because if I'd played the first one and then had a year and a half gap maybe, and then the second one was announced and it's all Chinese mythology and it's a new hero, that could have been exciting. But it just feels like an odd turn for your second part of the DLC. But either way, we'll see how the third one wraps up in the coming months, no doubt. But Ubisoft, again, doubling down on all the content. And the final game we're going to talk about right now is the WatchDogs Legion. Got a recent roadmap that dropped. They're dropping multiple content, new characters across June, May, July, and into August. And the kind of only really pieces I wanted to pick out on this, because I've not played WatchDogs yet, was Aidan Pierce is going to be a playable hero rather than just a side character. So that's great, bringing the protagonist from the main game, the original game I should say, back into the new one. But the one that's got me is in August. They're doing a Assassin's Creed crossover event featuring a world event and new missions with Assassin's Creed. Now, we've always joked that Assassin's Creed, and Bloom, which is the security company within WatchDogs, is very, very friendly with Abstergo, who is the company within the Assassin's Creed universe that's owned by the Templars in the future. And it gets in the weeds a bit. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how is this going to tie all these worlds together? Or is it just a simple marketing gig to cross over?
Yeah, I think it's probably both, actually. I think initially it's probably just intended as an Easter egg, like having like an Abstergo logo in a Watch Dogs game. For the Eagle Eye fans, go, oh my god, did you see that? That's awesome. But maybe they've actually decided, no, why don't we make these actually just the same world?
Why not?
Yeah, and then you can start bringing in elements from Abstergo into Watch Dogs. And I don't think they do it for mainline stuff, but as like DLC, why not play around with it?
Expands it out a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So fantastic stuff. But again, I love how much Ubisoft support the games. You can't deny how much kind of roadmap work and future planning they put into, and arguably they've probably saved a good couple of their titles from extinction just by supporting them. If we look at long tail games, like look at Rainbow Six Siege, every year they come out and say it's got more players than ever. If they had not supported that game with a roadmap the way they had, we could just not even be talking about Siege now, and they might be working on another entry in the series. But
we know Ubisoft has also recently decided to focus less on bringing out new AAA titles. So maybe this is the plan. They're going to focus on prolonging the life of the titles, whether single player or multiplayer, by having these longer trailing roadmaps of content.
Yeah. It's cheaper,
and it also probably buys more time for them to work on the new titles.
Yeah, it's because no one's clambering for a new one if you keep giving them content.
Yeah,
for the stuff they've already got.
So if you bring out an Assassin's Creed game and then you got like maybe years and a half follow up of DLC where they're just going to keep adding to it, then maybe you can bring out one Assassin's Creed game every 2 or 3 years, rather than feeling like under pressure to bring out one every year.
Yeah, it's a great model, and especially you've alluded to it there. Assassin's Creed is they do really well with the balance of free content as well. It's not all paid, so in and amongst that you get seasonal like festivals and activities and side missions for free. So that gets you back into the game without spending a penny. But then if you enjoy what you're doing, there's that carrot dangled of, well, actually, if you want to buy the season pass DLC, there's a whole other side story or quest you can go into.
Imagine how many people are probably going to jump into Assassin's Creed and Valhalla with it coming up to Easter, assuming there is like an Easter event.
There is, it's Ostrago.
They can get back in and go, I'm going to play the DLC.
Yeah, I'll pick up where they left up, maybe finish the game, because no doubt a couple of people bailed after like 40, 50 hours into the game too.
I bailed after I rolled credits, so that's one where if I decide I'm going to jump back in, I fancy playing a bit more, play through like the seasonal stuff, then I'm going to tidy up the map a bit more.
Wonderful. So, right then, Richie, to wrap up the show, speaking of DLC and side quests, we've got another episode of SideQuest we're about to go and record, of course. Available exclusively on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia. You can check it out there. And if you are one of our lovely patrons who support the channel, myself, Chris, Richie and Tom, that little bit more, from as little as $1 a month, 79 pence, you can head over to patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia, where you actually get that episode 5 days early before the free channels do. So if you're that way inclined, you'd like the content early. More importantly, you just like the material that we make for you. We are a Stadia exclusive channel. They're the only people we follow and support, and the only people we plan on following and support. It's in the name. It would be silly of us to change that. So if you do appreciate everything we do head over to there and support us that little bit extra. We would heartedly appreciate it. Wholeheartedly, in fact. And Richie, what's on the SideQuest topic doc this week?
So this week we are going to be talking about pre-orders. And do they make sense for Google Stadia?
Ooh, so that's actually been quite a topic of contention recently with obviously digital stuff, but we'll cover that more in depth on the SideQuest show that we're going to go record straight after this. Thank you to everyone who's stopped by, listened and watched this episode of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 79. Hope you've had an enjoyable time. We have. You've shook off. Have you shook off that hour in bed that you lost, Richie, by now?
Yeah.
Feeling good.
I didn't get out of bed till like 10:30 this morning, so...
10:30 or 11:30?
10:30 as the clock said it, so it's probably like 9:30 it would have been.
Ooh, that's early for a Sunday. But thank you to everyone, of course, who stopped by. Hopefully our predictions were right. Richie, people listening to this podcast right now may be able to claim Fall Guys and play it on Stadia if you went so crazy with your bold prediction. If not, though, they may certainly be playing Resident Evil 7. Don't forget to check out the channel for myself and Richie's playthrough and our scary, cowardly approach to the Baker family and the Biohazard world. Check that out this Thursday, 8 p.m. GMT time. Is it GMT now? Or are we on...
I think we are GMT now.
Just UK time. You go figure it out. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned. Keep it locked to the channel. Follow us over on Twitter. Have a great week. Game on. We'll see you all soon. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Go fast forward those clocks.
TikTok.
No, not TikTok. Don't promote TikTok. We don't have a TikTok.